Okay,
Okay.
so good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Heather.
To start off with, would you like to say your name and where you are?
So I'm Shan. I'm in Markham, so it's in the Greater Toronto area.
Okay, nice to meet you.
hmm Yeah, nice to meet you.
So, the first real question that we have is who are you? Who are you as a human being or as a person? And I mean, you can talk about your values or your qualities, your passions, your interests, whatever you'd like.
Okay. So I'm a psychotherapist, a registered psychotherapist in the Toronto area. And I have been in private practice for 6 years after I graduated from Gestalt. And I immigrated from China to Canada 14 years ago. Um, yeah. So I have two kids, and the four of us live in Toronto. Both of my kids were born here. Um, yeah. Um, and Yeah, that's pretty much like who I am.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
mhm.
I think there's probably more to who you are. Do you have any particular, I mean, psychotherapy is, probably work and passion, but we'll get into that later. But
Uh-huh.
what are your other interests? What other parts of you? What do you live?
Mhm. What do I live? Um, I think to answer that question is very, very related to my professional life as well.
Mhm,
And I think the reason that I come to Canada is the start of, of that I have the interest of to understanding more about human beings, to understanding more about connection. And um, so when I was in China, I used to be a high school teacher, and then I became one of the first group of people who practice social work in China. Yeah, when it started in like around the end of 99, like it started in 1999 in
mhm.
China, and so I was one of the group of people who did practice social work. hmm
Were you in urban or rural settings?
In Shanghai, in urban areas, yeah, and um, but at the time is because it's very early on. We don't have a lot of experiences uh, or a lot of things to grasp onto. So it's really like a blank paper. So I've learned a lot from that experience, and also that really start my interest of understanding more about human, like in a subtle and intimate way, rather than
Mm,
in like social work is more big, it's more advocacy and
mhm,
that way. So I'm more interested in that. So after I come to Canada, uh, I didn't do, I didn't continue um, with my pursuing in social work, but I changed to learn psychotherapy. So I started with Gestalt. hmm
okay.
hmm
And before we get into Gestalt, just what about your person? Would you say that there's a particular value in your life that you sort of organize around?
I believe in love.
Oh,
Yeah, I believe in love and human connection. And
wow.
mm, yeah, I think without that, it's hard to organize anything. Uh,
Now, I love that you didn't think about that for a second. That was awesome. That
mhm.
was lovely.
Mhm.
Okay. So, another question, a little bit about maybe your history, is what comes to mind as an event or as a set of circumstances in your life that have really defined you? I mean, immigration is obviously a big life event, but I don't know if there's a specific moment that comes to mind.
Yes. So while I was while I was teaching in Shanghai, China, while I was a high school teacher, like my determination was I would be a teacher for my life. So after I graduated, so that's kind of what I wanted to do, and I really enjoy to be with kids. Um, and then when I get closer to their life, I really started to see a lot of difficulties that I never thought I would experience. Um, so a lot of the kids that I've taught that they don't like of material things, that they have phones. At those times, they have phones much better than me, and yeah, and uh, and they have access to a lot of material things which can supposedly make them happy, right? And I can
Hmm.
see how their parents are providing all of that for them to support their happiness, or but it's really going the wrong direction. And
Mm.
what I saw is they are not happy at all. And a lot of them, because like in China, the culture is also like that. The parents are working really hard, and some of
Hmm.
them are taken care of by grandparents, or like they're I think the connection that the parent make with the kids is around expectations.
Hmm.
It's
Is
about-
this sort of in the time of the one child policy, right? So
yes.
it's kind of like you only have one chance to do this right.
Yeah, and you have
Yeah,
to pass this exam that to get into a higher education, and you have to
right.
put all your effort to gain that. And
So
the
there's a
stress
lot of competition.
is, yeah, because the population is there, and so there's a lot of competition, and this it feels like all those years that they hold on to their breath just to pass that,
Mm,
and the illusion is after I pass that I will have a happy life.
okay.
And so we all know what will happen after that. So
Yeah.
yeah, but this is before, like my kind of where I'm at is before they pass the exam. So I'm right
Right.
at high school where there is highly stressed, and I go to work at 5:30 in the morning. So the
Wow.
students arrives some of them at 6. So that's
Wow.
how, yeah, so that's how like how hardworking they are.
Hmm.
And also like the mindset is like your life is determined by this, and
Hmm.
you are defined by this as well. And so if you don't
Hmm.
pass that, like nothing can get in the way for you to achieve that. Nothing should have get in your way to achieve that.
Right. Like
So
love and connection, right?
yeah, and so when the eyesight is really focused, really narrowed, so we all know like we lose something because of that.
Hmm.
And I think what they missed is really like comfort, support, or emotion, like their emotions and their needs as a teenager, um, on all the levels of the spectrum has been missed. So I think I have been, working with them in groups at the time, just have those small conversations, small groups, and talking with them. And some of them, in the beginning, they don't open up to, because I'm the teacher, they don't open up. But gradually, when they started to know me, they open up a bit more. And I don't talk about, in those times, I don't talk about what the teachers do, but I ask about them, how they are doing, and really get to know them. And a lot of them, cry, and but I also feel helpless. I don't know how to help them,
Hmm.
because you do have to pass that exam to get into the next level.
Yes.
So I feel really stuck there, and I started to really feel that the values that the school holds, um, is also kind of, I feel a conflict with my. I don't know what my values are at those time, but I felt
Hmm.
there's conflict.
Hmm.
Um, so I think at that moment I decided that I want to do something for them. I want to learn something. I want to learn more for for their happiness. But now thinking back, it's for me, for my own happiness as well, right? Of course, I saw what I saw in them is what's happening in me. But at
Hmm.
that time, that's the motivation that I have.
Hmm. Yes,
Mhm.
projection is beautiful. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Did you grow up in a similar time, or would you say that their system was different than your system?
It's pretty much the same. I'm the
It's good.
starting of that. Like, oh
Okay.
my, yeah, I'm the starting generation of that. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. So I'm also wondering in your life, in your history, if there's a particular person who you would say that meeting them or interacting with them somehow in your life has changed you.
One person?
There might be a couple, but just,
Hmm.
sort of who and how. How have they influenced you?
Hmm. Um, okay, there are definitely many, but I really want to say Joanne, like the our previous principal in Gestalt Institute, Joanne
Mhm.
Granham. She had a big impact on me. Hmm. Yeah.
Can you say a bit more about how?
Um, um, I think she is the first person that I met. She's the person who said, we're not graduating therapists, we're graduating human beings.
Hmm.
Um, what she said, the power, and also like your program is about, the humans of Gestalt. So I naturally just felt how connected that is, of not being seen. I feel really touched when I say that, as in a role, but really to be seen as a human being. Um, I think I'll never forget that she said this is what she said.
Well, it sounds
And
like what you had just said, you're not an exam result, you're a person.
mhm. And also she showed up as a human being all the way in while she's teaching and while she's not teaching. She's teaching and showing that she's a human being.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah, I think all the teachers in Gestalt Institute that I have a lot of respect, Jay as well. But yeah, and Joanne really, she's the first teacher that I met, and she
Mhm.
was my therapist. And I do feel there's a very different connection with her. And she showed how can a person be serious and humor at the same time, and how to be, strict and loving at the same time. Yeah, like confronting and support at the same time. And I felt she's really an artist. Like she hold things very lightly, and you feel the weight. And when she hold things in a lot of weight, you feel the lightness. Up to this day, I think, like, I don't know how she did that, but it's very beautiful and it's something I'm
I know.
longing.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think you just wrote a poem about her. I don't know. That was beautiful, the way that you were
She is
describing that.
beautiful. She's beautiful. And, when I first did interview with her, and I asked, she said, oh, you can contact Jay about this. And I'm very serious, like I'm from China, and she's a teacher and I'm a student. So there is a certain kind of, a different dynamic between a teacher and the student. So I was very nervous when I doing my interview. I was 100% good student there. And I asked her, okay, so Jay, so what's her name? And she spelled Jay's name to her. And she has a very long last name, yeah. And
Hmm.
she was looking at me while I was writing it without laughing at me or showed any kind of irritation or any kind. She just really hold the space. Because at the time when I'm writing down, by the end of it, I started to notice how how like it's how unnecessary that I'm doing that. But I
Hmm.
felt like she was respecting me the whole time while I was writing it. And she's very serious about telling me how to spell that.
Hmm. If it's important for you, I guess it was important for her, right?
Yeah, but but that level of presence I've never felt before. So I felt this is so the connection was right there. I was curious about how can she have that kind of quality. without
Hmm.
rushing a person or without judging. So I'm very curious.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
I
Well,
have many things to say about her.
no, that's lovely. And I think, I mean, that's really important. And something that someone has suggested is that we get a bunch of people to talk about some of the teachers who people keep mentioning. You know, a lot of them have passed away. So to remember and to tell stories, but like to gather the stories, because I mean, oral tradition is beautiful, but it's
Mhm.
really nice to have it recorded sometimes, because it's important to get the feeling, like the felt sense of where what we're doing is coming from and
She
how it's been transmitted. So that's
exactly.
really lovely.
Yeah, and she's so humble. Like I always feel like there's a loss of she didn't leave a lot of like written things or recording things.
Hmm,
Yeah, yeah,
hmm.
mm,
Oh,
yeah, and yeah. Can I share another one or?
sure,
Mhm.
sure.
In one of our sessions, I think she is the one who make me realize about what is relational, and I hold that into my heart. Um, it just I was talking about my worries and my like in therapy I was talking about my worries, my burdens, and all that, right? And I started to get really really involved in myself, so I was just leaning in, just like that.
Hmm.
And I think I was like really bending to a very low kind of position. And Joanne she's not young, like she's in her 70s at the time. She bent together with me and she lowered her head, and her head was almost like very close to me. And so I can just saw her from this view. That moment was very healing to me. I started to see another person, like in my all my worry and all my burden, and like there is another person there. Right?
Hmm.
Um, so I guess that's the moment I realized what is true relational. That is
Hmm.
relational. She didn't say anything. She was just bend her head and stayed with me.
Hmm.
Mhm.
That's really nice.
Yeah. Mhm.
Hmm. So I do want to ask you another question.
Mhm.
It's a bit more about you, and this is
Mhm.
probably the most personal question, and you can answer it however you want.
Mhm.
Um, it's a bit about how you understand yourself within your gender or as a woman.
Wow. um, I think I that's a great question, Heather. There's a lot of history, like I have to say. There's a lot of history and in the culture as well. So it's not that simple. So I'll try to answer that. Um, I think I started to realize I'm a woman very late, very late in my life. Yeah. Um, um, because growing up, um, I think in Chinese culture, girls, there is a certain perspective of seeing girls
Mhm,
historically, and especially after the single child policy, because all the families want to have at least one boy, yeah, for
mhm,
the generation to keep going on. And after the single child policy, so I'm the first generation of having the single child policy. So I'm the only one. And although my parents didn't say, but I know that they wanted a boy. Mm. So I think that that kind of unspoken kind of perspective has been had an impact on me,
Hmm.
for sure. And also, so since very young, I guess I was trying to prove that I can be as good as a boy.
Hmm.
Um, that all what boys can do, I can do. Yeah, just to comfort my parents. I remember that. And also culturally, I think in the education system that I was in, because I live in the north part of China, where also because we want everybody to get into the exam, and your academics the most important thing. And so I think all of us has been kept the gender away from our identity.
Okay.
Yeah, and just we all have we have to have short hairs. We're not allowed to have long hairs. And in my school, we're not allowed to wear skirts.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's very intentional as well to keep the gender kind of out of the your your general kind of way of living. And the
hmm,
teachers will always say, like don't think about relationship or don't think about those kind of things before you get into after you get into university.
wow.
Yeah. So when you get into university, guess what? It looks like the perception is after you get to university, you will just mature and know who you are, understand your gender, everything. But of course, that didn't
And
happen.
learn how to relate to
Yes.
everybody and deal with your feelings. And
Yeah.
oh, I don't know if that system is going to work really well.
Yeah. So I have to also say that I'm from a more conservative place where I
Hmm.
live. I know people in my generation didn't feel that way, or right now it's improving as well. So I want
Hmm.
to acknowledge that as well. But I live in a very, very conservative place,
Hmm.
and I see a lot of clients as well. I see clients who relate to my experience as well, but also like
Hmm.
some are different.
Hmm.
But yeah, but the but that's for me. When I started to realize that I'm a woman, I think it's truly just to like after I got into Gestalt and started to understand all aspects of me,
Hmm.
and that start to become conscious of about my gender. I started to feel more conscious of my gender.
Hmm. And
Mhm.
so, how would you say that you experience yourself now? Like, how are you integrating this understanding of yourself?
Um, I feel like really like more connected with myself, and understanding myself and feeling myself more, uh, which was really wasn't allowed, in many ways. So right now I feel very very much more connected and alive, and connected to other people, connected to to intimate relationships.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so it's all feel more like this. Before it feel more separated and
Hmm.
isolated. Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. So, how did you specifically find Gestalt? How did that happen?
How did that happen? Good question. I was after I had my son, and I think I was constantly looking, like the initiative of me coming to Canada. Is I was thinking about, I want to do something, but I didn't know like what kind of approach that I want to do, and also it seems there needs to be a lot of research needs to be done before I know anything, and
Hmm.
culturally wise. I don't have a therapist, growing up, other people's profession is a therapist, that's also new. And so I don't have people to consult with. And I'm a newcomer to Canada. I don't know a lot of things here either. And so just after I had my son, there is a Taiwanese a therapist, and she did Gestalt while she was in Taiwan, and she wants to do a group, which I found, wow, that's interesting. Maybe I want
Mhm.
to look into that. So so I went to her group, um, Ming as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, and also my other friend Emily. So the three of us. So we went there and did the group and feel, there is a big impact because in China we don't talk about feelings, but there we started to talk about feelings and it's very messy feels. But it's also I felt a lot of curiosity. So she said, "Oh, there's a Gestalt Institute in Toronto. Maybe you want to try." But I was still hesitating because I have family responsibilities. But
Mhm.
then, just right at the time I'm hesitating, my mom and my son had a car accident.
Oh.
Yeah, just in that summer, and um, so my mom has some injuries. My son, he's a miracle, so he's lucky. He didn't have much injuries. And But I think with that, I realize if I want to do something, I want to do it now.
Mm.
Uh, yeah. So, and also, there's a lot of stress in, like with taking care of, later on, I need to take care of my mom and to help her through recovery and all that. So, yeah, I just went to Gestalt and had the interview with Joanne. And I think I was still hesitating while I was interviewing with her. And she said, you need this. You need this. And I said, but my English is not good and I don't know if I can do it. And she said, she looked at my eyes and she said, it's not about the language, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, so that's how I got into it.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Okay. And what is it that's attracted you most or caught your attention over the years in Gestalt? What is like, I don't want to say your favorite part because that's like judging it, but what is it that really connects with you?
The complexity, like the polarities. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like what I said, I'm, in Joanne, like the all the different
Hmm.
you know, the polarities, but they can work together. They are together. They are um, uh, um, um, there's a, how to say, indifference, and
Hmm.
yeah, and they can form a balance, and I feel that's really beautiful. And we can get into that homeostasis state.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I like the complexity of it, not black and white, but
Hmm.
but really the process and also the feelings of that, and you can be this and that at the same time, the humanity of it.
Hmm. Okay. So, what would you say you have done with Gestalt? What has become your area or something that would define the way that you work or practice?
Oh, uh, well, I don't know. Like, I think that's that's other
Maybe a
people's.
work in progress, but.
Yeah, that's a work in progress as well. But I really relate to embodiment,
Mhm.
and also
Mhm.
relational and embodiment. So I feel embodiment is a big part of it. The body is a big part of the whole picture of a whole human being.
Mhm.
So I believe that that if we want to feel whole inside, that body needs to be part of it. Emotion and our own beliefs that needs to be integrated. So
Mhm.
embodiment um, is the part that I'm working with, and also I'm working with myself and working with others.
Hmm. And do you work on any particular projects or with any particular communities?
Yes. So I lead workshops in the institute,
Mhm.
embodiment workshops. I also lead workshops in the Chinese community, Gestalt workshops, like group work, some group works. I also work with a group of people that's very traumatized. They're from Iraq, refugee to Canada.
Okay, sorry, your sound kind of went funny. From where?
Oh, um,
There.
from Iraq.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're Yazidis, um,
Mm,
and they are a tribe that has been very damaged by ISIS, and so
mm-hmm,
with the refugees, a lot of the women uh, who who come to Canada um, with their kids, and so those are particular group that I work with. So.
hmm.
Mhm.
Wow. That sounds like difficult work and meaningful work.
Yeah, it is very difficult because it's hard to find a community right now to other people who work with those people as well. So um so yeah, so it's been challenging. So I've been with them for a year now, and
Mm-hmm,
the initial impact was huge for me personally. Yeah. And now I feel like we are moving to a different stage.
mm-hmm,
Uh, yeah, started to understand more, or I can hold myself in that space more. So,
mm-hmm.
mhm.
Hmm. Okay. And this is kind of leading into the next question is what are some of the challenges that you've run into? Um, I mean, some people by this point are not talking about Gestalt, so you can answer either way you want. Challenges either for yourself as a person or challenges within your practice as a Gestaltist.
Hmm. Um, I want to say like uh, living in Toronto, I find like the times that um I have been with the community, with Gestalt or with the therapist group. I find diversity is something that I find, um, as an immigrant, to um, how to say, um, I have my own struggles of, as another layer of, if I'm born here or have lived here. So I find that's some difficulties that I face.
Mhm,
um, um, yeah, like not only language, but also, the understanding about uh, different culture, or to integrate different people's differences. Um,
mhm,
I find that's a challenge, still a challenge, personally and also in the community as well. Yeah, as a
mhm,
yeah. Um, 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 yeah, I don't know how to say it, but I did find um, that's the part I find very challenging. Mhm,
mhm.
mhm,
And I'm resisting that classical temptation to ask you, what you would have needed, because I know I don't want to put it on you to explain that to me. I'm just
mhm,
hearing it.
mhm,
And that's something I've been asking myself a lot lately is
mhm,
how sort of this monocultured gestalt can open up and become more plural and understand, not make it self understood, but understand different cultures coming into it.
mhm,
And
mhm.
I'm sitting with that. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think, yeah, I don't know either, Heather. I feel this is, I think this is the worst time and this is the best time as well. Just,
Hmm.
us having this conversation, or this conversation has been started, I feel that's a great support. And just to
Hmm.
understanding, people's different needs or different backgrounds, um, and and have more of curiosity to another human being, and to know this is complex. It's not, like we can solve it, just tomorrow, right? But just have that awareness and understanding and put that into awareness. I think that's already a big support.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's actually a really important conversation that so many Gestalt institutes and organizations are aware that we
Hmm.
should be having.
Hmm.
But even though we're all about dialogue and difference, it's been really hard to get that going for
Yes.
a lot of spaces within Gestalt. So thank you for reminding me of that again.
Hmm.
Keep working on that. So another question on the other side of the challenges is what I would say some of the highlight experiences have been for you. And I almost want to specifically ask you if you could tell another story, just the way that you told the Joanne story was
Hmm.
beautiful. And
Hmm.
I'm wondering if something comes to mind as a moment that you've had with a client or training a group or doing something sort of from the other side, as a gestaltist, if a moment comes to mind that you'd like to share that you felt was significant.
Relating to me or relating to the community?
Your practice, maybe your practice or your being or something that you have achieved or done.
Mm. Um,
Sometimes people remember clients, but they remember a moment in a group. And those are some really interesting stories.
yeah, I kind of want to go a little earlier than this question. Is
Hmm.
I want to say I really love Gestalt retreats. So we have retreats at Maple Lake, and
Hmm.
I felt the connection there is always very beautiful. The memories there, and um, so I remember while we was doing our disown parts that we put on different costumes and being different, which is always a struggle for me because I'm from China. I don't know all the characters. Yeah. So for me, it's like a crazy party where all these people show up in this crazy costumes, and it's really hard to understand. So I remember, so it's always a struggle. So one time, I think I was playing a part. I already forgot. And Jay, our faculty and now our principal, and she's playing like a robot. Yeah,
Okay.
like and I want to ask a question. So I went to them and say I want to ask a question about something and so for that question is very particular about you want me to do this or you want me to do that. And Jay as a robot, and she said, for people like you, the only answer you will get is you need to follow your heart.
Oh.
Mhm. So I felt that's really a highlight for me, and to follow my heart. And I've been doing that, you know, since that time. It's like, bong, permitted.
Turned on. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the answer before that,
Hmm.
and and I think the every time right now in my practice, if I could feel those contact moments with my client, is a highlight for me.
Hmm.
Is really a highlight for me because when I decided that I want to do this work is because of the simplicity of it. Wow, you just say something or you just have curious about somebody that can really that really shifted me, that really make me feel better. It's
Hmm.
how like people can really do this. That's always amazed me. So that's why I'm in this profession. It's because if I can just do that and you will feel better, no money can buy it. So every time I felt that connection, with another human being. I felt that contact. I felt, you know, is this is the worst that, this is the life that I worth living in.
Nice.
Mm.
And I guess one other question is you mentioned, I can tell that you're very connected with Toronto Gestalt community, but do you feel like you're part of a wider Gestalt community?
Um, yes, and no. So yes, it's because I did wireless training.
Mm-hmm.
So I was with her in New York for 4 modules, and and there are Gestalt therapists from like different countries, like I think more than 10 countries
Mm-hmm.
in our group, and so that really felt like a connection, and the feeling like people coming from different countries speak the same Gestalt language. That's really beautiful. So yeah, so at that time I really felt that belonged to a more larger community and see this is a Gestalt making an impact in the world. And so I feel connected that way. Mm, but a large, so that's about how far I went. And also I have a friend who is Emily, and she's in China now, and she's really wants to deliver or to make something happen in China with Gestalt. That's her
Mm-hmm.
dream, and I was with her in that dream as well. So yeah, we really want to um, do something that we have got into maybe hopefully to deliver to others.
Hmm.
Mm.
Interesting. I know
Mhm.
there is a lot of Gestalt happening in different parts of China, so
Yeah.
that's kind of exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I guess you've said it in a lot of different ways, but I'm curious how you would sort of capture how Gestalt has affected you as a person.
Mm. Um, Well, I think Gestalt right now for me is not a theory, it's a lived experience, and still trying to understand it more every day. And
Hmm.
a lot of the things that the teacher has said or you have read in books, I feel now I've tasted some of it, and um, and connected inside of myself in that. Um, um, and feel more alive, feel more connected, and feel have more capacity to be with myself and be with others, have more availability, and have more curiosity. I think all of those um, from Gestalt, and also um, um, not to hold it too seriously, to have some humor in life,
Hmm.
to um, don't hold myself too seriously as well. I found
Hmm.
I love that part of Gestalt as well.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah, so
Nice.
now from tasting stage to a more like integrating uh, stage. Mhm.
Hmm. And I don't ask this to everyone. I know a lot of people have kids, and I'm sorry if I haven't asked all of them. How would you say that Gestalt has affected your kids? It, all of this that's coming through you, like, what are they getting from all of this?
Mhm. Mhm. I
Is it,
remember. Mhm.
no, go ahead.
Mhm. I remember, like, well, in class, one day I was sitting in front. I don't know why, but I remember that's what I remember. And I said something, and Joanne said, "You look at things through a shitty eye."
Oh.
I know. How
Okay.
nice. um, so I think what she really means is that there's a lot of judgment in
Mm.
my head or in my beliefs, and I don't blame myself because I like I grow up with that.
Hmm.
um, I think that, if I want to say how it impacting my kids is really like that part of me, that judgmental part of me, really start to shaken, and it become more fluid of,
Mm,
of seeing, living, and being as me as a person. So I remember, um, um, 1 year after I come back from the retreat, when I touch my son's face, when I'm touching him, I will never forget that I really felt his face. I really felt the sensation of his face, and uh, and the warmness of his face. Um, yeah, and I felt that's really big, and and now I see them. Um, um, I can see their creativity. I can see their aliveness. Without those aliveness will shock me, right? Like I can hold on to that, and I can see their just see them as kids, as a separated, different human being, other than me, who have a
mhm.
different experience. So hopefully, I want to tell Joanne that I changed my glasses.
That was good.
Yeah, so that's kind of the impact I felt. Probably I'm
Hmm.
having on my kids, and I think that's a huge impact. Mhm,
Yeah, it's one of the biggest changes I think is when we learn how to be curious about and to discover the other person, like you
mhm,
said, as an other but not disconnected. So
mhm. Yes.
I think that's lovely. So I
Mhm.
guess my last question really is, what's next? What's next for you, and what do you think should be next for Gestalt?
In my practice.
Whatever way you'd like.
um, I remember Jay said, like in the time for her is about service. Like she wants to do service to the community, and she, from like how she works, she's also like up to this day, she's still working endlessly to our institute in Toronto, and I felt like she's really in service of the community and in service of Gestalt, and because she loved Gestalt, she loves Gestalt, and I think maybe for me as well, like I felt like I can go to that stage of, uh, you know, without a lot of ego, that I could put myself in service of the community that I work with. Um, um, and yeah, just in that position of, uh of,
That
of
sounds lovely.
taking, yeah, what I had and to give. Yeah, that would be, yeah, that I'll feel happy to think
Hmm,
that. Mhm. If I can
nice.
achieve that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what about for Gestalt? What do you think would be something significant or a next step for Gestalt therapy?
Mhm. I feel Gestalt is also changing, right? Gestalt is also evolving from, the more classical and to in the different stages. And I see it as how the community of Gestalt, like how each one of us grows and the community of Gestalt grows. And so, like when you are doing this project, I see it as a growth of Gestalt. And when we are serving each client, I see that as a growth of Gestalt. So it's like those triple effects. That's how we grow, right? If we didn't, um, you know, abandon Gestalt or leave Gestalt, then Gestalt will grow. And I think that's the next step. Hmm. Yeah.
Kind of staying with it and
Yeah.
letting it grow.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's interesting. That sounds very trusting. It's like it will grow, it will emerge, it
Yeah.
will.
Mhm.
That's very
Mhm.
Gestalt. That's a beautiful answer. Wow. Well, I have really enjoyed speaking with you. I've run out of questions. I added a couple extras. So I don't know if there's anything that you feel like you would like to add.
Mm, no, I feel really grateful to have this conversation with you, Heather. I feel this is a very, very meaningful project and a very, very gestalt, I want to say. I was really, when I'm thinking about gestalt, this project, I think is a representative of that. You show different faces as a documentary, as it is, not as a show, not as as something else, but as the reality. I think that's really the spirit of Gestalt, and also those places as a representations of Gestalt as well. So I'm thinking this is, yeah, I felt what you do is very connected to the roots of Gestalt, it's a representation of that. So I feel grateful for you of doing this project.
Wow.
And mhm.
Thank you.
Yes, and I also feel grateful about all my teachers. I really want to say that all the teachers that didn't, because as this profession, there are a lot of difficulties and
Mhm.
misunderstandings, and it's not all about roses and and love and and there are difficulties and there are mistrusts and there are.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
why we specifically ask people not to say bad things about each other in the interviews.
Yeah, yeah. There are encounters, there are hard times, and I always feel grateful, sometimes that our teachers and all the people that who teaches Gestalt that they didn't give up in
Mm,
some of their dark times, and they show their resilience and they show their spirit throughout the way. So I have a really, really a tender heart and feel really, really grateful for all my teachers and all the teachers in Gestalt field.
mm,
That's probably what I want to say. Hmm.
oh,
Hmm.
hmm. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And if it's okay with you, we will end it here for now.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Heather. Yeah. You have a great day.
Thanks.